Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Imagine you're handed a comprehensive roadmap, a single document that maps out the entire intellectual journey from the simplest possible concept, a 0 or a 1, all the way to quantum field theory. We've actually received just such a guide. It's titled P.R.I.S.M Linear, Binary to Quantum Field Theory, and it lays out these 14 foundational steps.
And this isn't just, a list of university courses. Our mission here is for you to treat this as a genuine shortcut. We're looking at the intellectual scaffolding.
These are dependencies.
Exactly. Why does linear algebra have to come before differential geometry? Why is, say, set theory completely non-negotiable? This deep dive is about understanding that structure, so you get the whole picture without a 14-year PhD program.
Absolutely. It's like we're reverse engineering the universe's curriculum. So we're going to trace this path through 3 main phases. First, the discrete foundations, logic and numbers.
Then the big leap to abstract operations and continuous modeling.
And finally, using all of those tools to actually describe reality itself.
It's really proof that rigorous thought, starting from almost nothing, built the conceptual tools we need to describe everything from a computer chip to, well, subatomic particles.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting right at the absolute foundation, step 1. And step 1 is binary logic. It feels so simple, right?
Yeah.
True or false, 0 or 1.
It is. It's Boolean algebra, truth tables, the stuff that runs in physical logic gates. It is the absolute bedrock of information.
But the world isn't just a list of disconnected facts. You need to connect them.
And that brings us immediately to step 2, propositional and predicate logic. So while binary logic just tells us if something is true, predicate logic gives us the tools for inference.
Inference.
Right. It introduces things like quantifiers, for all or there exists, and lets us build formal, Knox-shared proofs. It's how we move from one fact to a conclusion.
So we have a language of proof now, but we need things to talk about. We need to organize stuff. I feel like this is where we need some kind of conceptual container.
Exactly what it is. And those containers are step 3, set theory. This is that crucial jump to collections, defining what a type or a group of objects even is. We're talking about Zermelo-Fraenkel sets here.
Okay, but why? Why do we need the rigor of Zermelo-Fraenkel and infinite cardinalities just to organize things? I mean, why can't we just use simple lists or collections?
Because, and this is the critical part, without that rigor, the entire structure of mathematics just collapses when you try to deal with the infinite. And physics is all about continuous systems. You literally cannot define continuity or even the set of all real numbers without a rock-solid foundation for infinite collections. Set theory is. It's like the warranty on the language of math itself.
The warranty, I love that. So within these warranted containers, we need the actual objects, which must be step 4, number theory and arithmetic.
That's it, the deep structure of the integers. We're talking about the Peano axioms defining what a number is, along with tools like modular arithmetic.
So these first 4 steps, logic, inference, containers, and objects, they build the whole foundation.
They establish the necessary language and rigor. You've defined what you can say, how you prove it, what you can organize, and what you're organizing. You simply cannot begin step 5, which is about operations, until you formally define the numbers themselves. It's a clean, logical dependency.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for me. We've built this world of discrete, sharp, well-defined rules, and now we have to use it to model something messy, continuous, like acceleration or a field.
And that transition starts with step 5, algebra.
Not high school algebra, I'm guessing.
No, not just solving fricks. This is the study of abstract operations and structure itself. We're talking about groups, rings, and fields. And the key takeaway here isn't calculation. The key takeaway is symmetry.
Symmetry. Why does that concept matter so early in the roadmap?
Because when you define a group, for instance, you're defining a set of elements and an operation that, when you do it, leaves the overall structure unchanged. That is a symmetry. It's the first time we introduce this deep idea that certain properties stay the same. They're invariant despite changes. And that concept, born right here in abstract algebra, becomes the central organizing principle for all of modern physics later on.
That's a phenomenal connection.
Wow.
Okay, so to really model continuous change, we need the big one. Step 6, calculus.
The toolkit for dynamic reality. Limits, derivatives, integrals. Calculus gives us that ability to zoom in infinitesimally, that's the derivative, and to sum up infinite processes, the integral.
So let's just describe motion, flow, things that evolve smoothly.
Yes, it's the essential engine for classical mechanics.
But real-world systems aren't just one-dimensional. You don't just calculate how fast something falls. You have to know where it is in 3D space, with multiple forces acting on it at once.
And that necessity brings us straight to step 7, linear algebra.
Right.
This is the tool for multidimensional modeling. Vectors give you direction and magnitude. Matrices are the operations, the transformations on those dimensions, and eigenvalues tell you what those transformations preserve.
So if calculus is the language of change,
then linear algebra is the coordinate system, the structure that lets that change be described across a huge, complex space. You can't even start to conceptualize the forces in a physical field without matrices and vector spaces.
it's wild to think that matrices, something that feels so much like a tool for, I don't know, computer graphics or an Excel spreadsheet, is literally the language for the interacting variables of the universe.
And if we're going to be that rigorous about it, we need an insurance policy. That's step 8, topology and real analysis. We've made this huge leap to continuous space and multidimensional functions, but our definitions actually sound.
Wait, so topology and real analysis are sort of like the rigorous auditors for calculus and linear algebra?
Precisely. That's a perfect way to put it. They add that rigor to the concept of space itself, defining things like open sets, limits, and convergence with absolute clarity. You have to be certain your idea of continuous space won't lead to contradictions. Phase 1 guaranteed the rigor of the objects. Phase 2 ends by guaranteeing the rigor of the space and the operations. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the previous steps gave us the language, the rigor, and the ability to model these complex continuous systems.
And now we point that whole toolbox at reality.
Now phase 3 is where we point it at physical reality itself.
And the first target has to be the stage where all of physics happens, space-time. Step 9 is differential geometry and tensor calculus.
This is a crucial moment. We're applying the tools from calculus and linear algebra, not to a system in space, but to the structure of space itself. We move from simple flat Euclidean geometry to manifolds, curvature, and tensors. Tensors are the mathematical objects that let us relate physical quantities across curved spaces in a way that's true no matter what coordinate system you're using. This is the framework for general relativity. It defines the geometry of space-time.
Okay, we have the stage. Now we need to describe the play. Step 10. Lagrangian and Hamiltonian mechanics.
Yes, and this is such a beautiful, powerful reformulation of dynamics. Instead of just tracking forces, like in Newtonian mechanics, we describe how a system evolves based on minimizing energy.
It's a different perspective.
A much more powerful one. It introduces phase-space dynamics, and the Hamiltonian is essentially the energy operator. That structure becomes the template we need to make the jump into the quantum world.
Okay, now we're circling back. Earlier, in step 5, you flagged symmetry as being super important. And now it comes roaring back in step 11, group theory and Lie algebras.
Absolutely. This is where abstract algebra becomes a literal architecture of physical law. Group theory is the math of symmetry. When we talk about groups like SUN, these are the symmetry groups of the standard model.
So they're defining how the universe can change, but stay the same in some fundamental way.
You've got it. And this all culminates in Noether's theorem, which is just one of the most powerful insights in all of physics. It proves that for every continuous symmetry you find in nature, there is a corresponding conservation law.
Wow. So the conservation of energy isn't just something we observe, it's a direct consequence of the universe's symmetry through time, proven by group theory.
That's it. It's stunning.
So with that dynamic framework and the symmetry framework in place, we can finally tackle the world of the very small. Step 12, quantum mechanics.
Correct. The standard non-relativistic model. We introduce wave functions, the uncertainty principle, and mathematically the Hilbert space.
In a Hilbert spaces.
It's the infinite dimensional arena. It's not the physical model itself, but it provides the rigorous mathematical structure we need to define those wave functions and calculate quantum probabilities.
But quantum mechanics is famously weird when you try to scale it up, right? It describes single particles well, but what about huge numbers of them, or bridging the gap to thermodynamics?
That's exactly why the roadmap must include step 13, statistical mechanics and quantum information. You can't skip it. This step is the essential bridge between the micro world of QM and the macro world we experience.
It handles the statistics of huge numbers of particles.
Exactly, defining concepts like entropy. And quantum information, which is newer, lets us analyze the actual information content within these quantum systems. That's a critical precursor for understanding fields.
Okay, so StatMech handles the sheer volume of particles, and quantum information handles the abstract properties of the system. It sets the stage for the grand finale.
It does, because now we have all the tools. We have relativity from step 9, dynamics from step 10, symmetry from 11, the quantum rules from 12, and how to handle large ensembles from 13. That confluence is required for the final step. Step 14, quantum field theory, QFT.
This is it, the combination, the big finish.
QFT unifies quantum mechanics with special relativity. And the big shift is that instead of seeing particles as little points, QFT sees them as excitations, as ripples in underlying quantum fields that permeate all of space.
Described with operators, Feynman diagrams.
And it forms the mathematical basis for the standard model of particle physics. It successfully describes the fundamental particles and forces. And that's the end of the PRISM linear roadmap.
So what does this all really mean? We've just traced this clear, linear, and you could say non-negotiable intellectual progression from a simple true or false all the way to quantum field theory.
And the rigor added at each stage, from Zermelo-Fraenkel sets making sure our containers don't break, to tensor calculus letting us describe curved spacetime, was absolutely essential. You just cannot grasp the next stage without the language of the one before it.
I think the biggest value here, for me, is seeing those dependencies and the through lines. That idea of symmetry you brought up so early in algebra.
It doesn't disappear. It gets reinforced by group theory and ends up being the scaffolding that holds the entire standard model together in QFT. It shows how these really abstract mathematical ideas become the fundamental organizing principles of the cosmos.
Which raises an important question then. If this entire intellectual structure goes from binary computation, which is completely discrete, to the fields of reality, which we think of as continuous, how exactly does the rigorous definition of discrete objects, like the Peano axioms for whole numbers, ultimately contribute to our understanding of continuous spacetime curvature? That tension between the discrete foundation and the continuous application, that's something for you to mull over or maybe explore on your own.